billionaires shouldn't exist, we didn't mean make them trillionaires.
My name is Maybe Burke, and you're watching Makeup for Lost Time.
Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire, and that is so dystopian, I can't even, I'm gonna try to explain it, but I posted a rundown of what it would take to become a trillionaire working at minimum wage, just to make a comparison. It was more of a thought experiment than anything, just to give us perspective to understand how much a trillion is. Because I believe that nobody needs $1 billion. Like, that is more wealth than one human being needs, especially while there are people living well below or under, those are synonymous, below or at the poverty line. Also, I would argue that the poverty line is lower than it needs to be at this point, with inflation and rising costs. Like, there are so many people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and literally, like, one emergency would financially devastate them. And while no, not all of those people are working minimum wage, and minimum wage is different in different cities and states, it's important to remember that, like, the federal minimum wage right now is still $7.25. And I got a lot of comments telling me, well, obviously most people aren't working minimum wage, but where the minimum wage is also sets a precedent for how much other people are going to be making. Entry-level jobs that don't pay minimum wage are still paying under what I think the minimum wage should be, because the minimum wage is so low, you know? And that's where people will love to name that he doesn't obviously have $1 trillion in his bank account right now as a reason that that's fine. But the ways that billionaires and trillionaires accrue their wealth and hoard their wealth from other people are the problem at hand. The system is stacked and rigged so that they can keep doing this. A trillionaire only exists in a system that exploits the working class and continues to make tax breaks and loopholes for the incredibly wealthy. And I don't know if I'm about to go like full anti-capitalist with my content, because I believe that we need more education on how disgustingly rigged our system is. Because the fact that he doesn't have $1 trillion sitting in his bank account is not actually the positive that people are trying to make it out to be. It's actually a symptom of the problem I'm talking about. Buy, borrow, die. That is the system by which these billionaires and this trillionaire are navigating. They are playing by a whole different game than we even have access to. Because he doesn't actually have $1 trillion, it is just wrapped up in like stocks and investments and assets. He's not getting taxed on that money. The tax rates for billionaires are already incredibly low, but especially given that they don't actually physically have the money that is determining their wealth, that makes their tax rates even lower than they would have been. So while yes, I've gotten comments that he pays like millions in taxes every year, his actual rate, the actual percentage, is so much lower than the average person's. And I'm saying the average person, I think it's also important to acknowledge, whenever I talk about money on the internet, there are so many people who don't really have an understanding of the class structure that I'm talking about. Because wealth and the lack thereof are largely based in like perspective and can be contextual based on your own experiences and relationship to it. There are people who, when they're thinking about the rich, they're thinking about people who are making 6 figures. But also, at this point, if you're not making 6 figures, that's what I consider to be, like, poor working class. Especially in big cities in this country, if you're not making 6 figures, you are probably not comfortable. You might not consider yourself to be actively struggling, but you also might not have disposable income or access to loans and things that these billionaires and that trillionaire are benefiting from. Whereas because of inflation and all of those things, people who are making 6 figures are basically just getting by. And I mean, 6 figures is a large range. There's a lot between like just $100,000 and $900,000. But I know a lot of people who are on the lower end of that who are comfortable, but not necessarily considering themselves rich. And this is coming from somebody who I made six figures literally 1 year of my life so far. I'm a freelancer, I run my own business, I'm an entrepreneur, and I don't consider myself to be, like, rich. I consider myself quite privileged. But I also believe that Elon Musk started out with more money and, like, at a better economic standpoint than I'm at a decade or so into my career. And that's because this man is not a self-made trillionaire. This man comes from money. Elon Musk has a rich daddy. Elon Musk comes from money. So much of the game of who makes money and how to make money in this world is based on your starting point. Yes, you can start a business from nothing and turn that into a profit and become something. That is so uncommon in what we think about. Yeah, Elon started a couple of businesses. Yeah, Elon has done some things that are a net positive for the world. Sure. But it's a lot easier to take those risks and to build those businesses when you already have money, when you have the safety net and the cushion of daddy's money, when you have connections and resources and all of those things. It is easier to start out. And that's because money is social power. The more money you have, the more access you have. The more access you have, the more resources you have. And the more resources you have, the more you can control who has access to those resources. Potentially the funniest comments I was getting in response to my post were that I'm jealous, or that I wouldn't care if a liberal person became a trillionaire. And first of all, I'm not a liberal. Get that hate speech right out of your mouth. But I don't feel this way about wealth because I'm jealous of the people who have more than me. I feel this way because I know I have more than quite a few other people, and I redistribute what I do have when I have enough to do that. I'm saying that because I've mentioned that I have made six figures in the past. My career has been taking quite a dive politically, and so I don't really have disposable income right now, and I'm worried about how much longer I have any income. But when I have the means to, I try to use my money to support and uplift my communities. And that's why I would never become a billionaire unless we were all making six figures and more. Because I don't need to hoard wealth and resources to, like, feel cool and superior. Somebody like Elon Musk could sneeze and solve world hunger, but he chooses not to. The UN actively gave him a plan of how it would work, and he was like, nah, never mind, I don't want to, instead of just, like, trying it. If you really thought it wouldn't work, if you really wanted to make a point, try it and prove it doesn't work. But these elites are much more interested in giving their money to politicians who will continue to bend the rules to line their pockets, instead of, I don't know, changing the world and giving people resources and ending hunger and things like that. Because at the end of the day, the elite ruling class benefit from there being a working, starving class. They know that if people have their needs met, they won't be as desperate for money and for giving their labor away. If people didn't need to be working multiple jobs to get by, or jobs that they hate and treat them poorly, then the elites wouldn't be able to be exploiting us through that labor. So no, I'm not jealous of Elon Musk. I actually pity him. For one man to have access to so much except basic human empathy, for him to buy a whole social media platform and contribute money to conservative smear campaigns against trans people instead of just, like, talking to his trans daughter. It's hard for me to have even sympathy for a man who is that small-minded, let alone jealousy. But that's the thing, I don't want wealth like that. Sure, I want enough to be comfortable, like I want to be able to retire as a self-employed person. But the only people who need as much wealth as somebody like Elon Musk has are the people who don't have enough in their life and need some status symbol to prove to themselves that they're important. I have joy. I have community. I have family. I have things in my life that make me know that I am important, that I matter, that I'm here, that I'm supported. And the only people that Elon Musk is a role model to are people who don't have their priorities straight. Oh, this is a cute glam. Stick around as we make up for lost time.